Hi folks, thanks very much for joining me. In the vise you see a realistic Caddis Pupa. So without further ado, let's get into it. In the vise then is a Hanak H310 barbless hook. It's at size 10 and it's a heavy wire gauged hook in black nickel, and that's going to help us with our weight problem. So I'm going to add, you see the hook's in the vise at quite an awkward angle at the minute, and the reason for that is I'm going to add some adhesive lead foil, and this comes in sheets with a plastic back, and for ease of the video I've already taken a small slither off, and basically all you do with this is grab the plastic foil, pull it away, and then you've got some adhesive lead foil to work with. Now I'm going to start quite far down the bend initially. I'm going to hold that in place with my nail once I've got it to where I want it, and then I can wrap up the length of the abdomen, sorry, the length of the body. I don't want to come onto the abdomen, so when I get up to the abdomen area of the hook, I'm going to use my nail. I'm going to come in and pinch that away like so. Then I'm going to start again, only about a turn and a half up. Again I'm using my nail just to hold it into place initially, and then I'm going to come up to just before I finished, pinch away, and with the last little bit you've got left, you might just get another turn. And that looks pretty good. So I've added a little bit of weight to the fly down in that area. So I'm just going to leave the hook where it is for the moment, and the thread I'm going to be using initially is going to be the Vivus. It's the GSP. It's at 50 denier, and as you can see it's a white thread. So as always with these, before I do anything else, I'm just going to add a touch of super glue at the shank of the hook, and I'm just going to give my lead body a little bit of super glue, and as the thread comes through, that'll just bind that into place. So just catch it in behind the eye and then come up. Don't do too tight a turn, you just want to initially capture in, you don't want to ruin that shape that you've took time to build. So just catch that in, and then I'm just loosely coming over the abdomen area with my silk. Now you can use other threads for this, in fact any other thread really, uni, UTC, it doesn't matter, as long as it's a light thread, either cream or white's good. So I've just got that into place, and I'm going to come all the way up to just where I started my thread. Then I can come in and take away my waste piece. Okay, I'm just going to adjust the hook in the vise now. Lock the vise off. Okay, next I'm going to add my eyes, and what I'm using here is some of this old Daiwa monofilament line, and I've just taken off, I'm going to take off a small piece here. We always try and use old scissors with this, and it's the same when you're cutting your lead foil. Make sure you're using a set of old scissors. As you can see, these ones have the points bent on them, so I'm not too worried about the blade. And I'm taking off approximately 3/4 of an inch, and I can then put that to the side. And what I want next is my tweezers, stolen from my eldest's bedroom, and I've obviously had these for a while. She's bought another pair since then, and I've stole them as well for taking fibres. She'll never know. So these ones are pointed, which are ideal for this. So what you can do is, you can see, you can decide how far away you want your eyeballs to be. So on this one I want them to be about 1/8 of an inch. So I catch them in the tweezers like so, and then just make sure they're even. If they're not even, you end up with two different size eyes. And then come in with your lighter and melt the ends. Same with the other side. And just give it a second. Don't go straight in with your fingers or you'll get burnies. Little second and it'll soon dry. Now there's a number of people sometimes just go straight on with the tweezers. I like to dress them up with my fingers. And I find the best way of putting these on is to get just a couple of turns in, and then generally they'll behave and fall into line. Now I don't want them right on the eye of the hook. Excuse my fingers while I get this started. I want them about 1/8 of an inch back from the eye. So I've done that, and I'm now coming up and putting a good figure of 8 into the eyes, just to hold them into place. Now there's a whole lot more coming at the front of the fly, so I'm not going to labour the point here. But what I am going to do is just pause to again add a tiny spot of super glue at the front of the fly, just to help hold that into place. I mean, it's pretty robust anyway, but just to help it. Now I'm going to adjust the fly and the hook again, and what I'm going to do next is add my shell backing. Now I've got it here, and unfortunately the packet's long gone, but basically I think it's a hen's product, and as you can see it's quite a translucent, stretchy shell back. So to prepare this, I want to come in with my scissors and just cut a small point in to catch in. Now I don't want to catch it right in at the top there, so I'm going to come back to about halfway, and I'm just going to catch that on the top of the shank. Make sure you've got it in, and then you can stretch that down to the bottom of the fly. Now all the time I'm doing this, that's given these eyes time to dry with a little spot of super glue. So as you can see, I've brought my thread back up to pretty much where I started with the stretchy shell back, and what I'm going to do next is use some of this. Now what this is simply some wool that I used for a different caddis in a different way, and what I've done is I've taken a section of this off, I've stripped the cores down. As you can see, the wool comes in cores. If I just split some of that away. Now I've stripped a bit of that away, and I've put it onto an old spool that used to contain Glow Bright, I think. So I've cut that onto a bobbin because it just makes my life a little bit easier when I come to do the body. So I'm going to catch that in now at the side and bring that all the way to the bottom of my fly. Now I'm going to park that bobbin just at the side of my vise if I can get it hooked on there, and then I'm going to bring my thread all the way up to there, and then you can either put a half hitch in or you can put a quick finish just to cast your thread off, because we don't need that for the moment. So I'll just remove my thread at this point. Next, we take up our wool that we've put in, bring your shell back all the way over to the front. And what you want to do is get a full turn of wool in at the bottom there. Okay, next we're going to come under for one turn, bring our shell back over the top and come over for one turn. Keep tension on your wool, but not too much, it's not as strong as thread. Then again under for one turn, and over for one turn. Then if I pull that back, the next time we do it, I'm going to have 2 turns this time. And what that does is just give the fly that segmented body look. Then if I come back, it's the same again, 2 more turns. And I like the way that wool's splaying out now. It's just working perfect for me. And bring that over. And the last time, so that's 1, 2, and you can bring that over to finish off. Keep a little bit of stretch in your wool, and that can come forward, and it's a good idea to use the wool just to bulk up this thorax area at the minute. It saves you a bit of time later. Then I'm going to put a half hitch in just to keep my wool in place. Then I can come in with my snips and remove the wool. Whoops, didn't like the look of that. Okay, I've made a bit of a mess of this, and the wool's sprung back, but because of the nature of the way I've got it cut in, I've still got a chance. So I'm going to bring in some of this Semperfi Nano Silk, and I'm just going to come right over the top of the wool and catch that into place, so it's not a complete disaster. I hope you're proud of me. I resisted the urge to take this right out of the vise and launch it across the room in a temper, and I've managed to save myself a bit of grief, so that's all good. Remove that excess wool, and that's looking not too bad now. So I'll just move the hook again in the vise, because everything's happening up the top now. Now next I'm going to add in my wing buds. And what I'm going to use for them today is a partridge feather. So I've got it already stripped back the waist here, and I've got it ready. So what I want to do is get a little V, the partridge feather, and it needs to have about, I would say, a minimum of half a dozen each side, and a maximum of maybe 10. So I've got that now in place, as you can see, fairly even, and I'm going to just come in like so, and I'm going to get the stalk right up to where the butt of my backing is, pull the fibres in tight, and then hold that in place. You can then remove your waist. Now let's just have a look at your side. Yep, it's looking pretty good. Now it's not as good when it's dry, this fly, but when it's wet, it's amazing. It looks fantastic. So that's looking all good. Now the thorax area, I'm going to use some trout stalker dubbing. It's the Highland peat flavour, and I've already got a bit off, but any sort of dark brown or black dubbing will serve you well for this part. So bring it in, let's get some on the thread. Try not to catch in your wing buds there, and then you can start working that into the thorax area. When you get to the eyes, as you did when you were attaching them, just a couple of figure of eights, and then bring your thread to the front of the fly. And that's looking not too bad so far. Okay, the next thing then is you want to bring your case, your thorax case, over the top in between the eyes. Stretch it a little, and once you've got a tight grip of that, get a couple of turns in and then lock it off by putting a couple of turns in front of the material. Okay, now at this point I would generally finish off, but we're going to add horns to this fly for effect, and the horns I'm going to use is bronze mallard, and I'm just going to take a couple of fibres from this bronze mallard feather, if my eyes will allow me to do that. Pull them out, make sure the tips are kind of even, and then just rip them away. Now, the bronze mallard's got a habit of sticking together. Just try and separate them. And the length you want is just so it's passing the bend of the hook. Now, I'm going to catch that in. And I'm using my eyes as a guide as to where they should go. So I'm going to bring that over. And again, they've tried to not go the way I'd like, so I'm just going to, before I clamp down on them, just going to pull them apart. Another couple of turns. Going to just bring that out of the way. Check the length. Yep, the length's good. And then what you do next is bring your thread in behind the eye, and you can lock your horns down with just a loose turn at this point, and then grab your waist and your shell back and bring everything back. Pull it quite tight, and then in behind the eye you want to get at least 2 or 3 turns to hold that into place. Now, what I'm going to do next is finish with a little bit of super glue onto my thread. And I can get another couple of turns in, and with the nano silk it just allows you that freedom to get a few turns in because it's so thin. Then to finish off, I'm going to half hitch it, then I can remove my thread. Okay, next we've got to take away the excess shell back, which I've stretched out, and then as you cut it, it should just come away. Also the excess bronze mallard, you can take that away. Just make sure everything's sitting, and if you're of a mind to, just come in and pull out some of that Highland peat dubbing, just to give the impression of legs. And there you go. Now it's a lot of faffing, and I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of these in my box, but there's a nice technique in there with the body and an easy cheat with the wing buds that I thought I'd share with you. Thanks very much for watching. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, there's 2 videos a week, one still water and one river. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate your support. Thanks very much.